Off and running on a Friday. The final, for a lot of you, as I'm learning today, the final work Friday of the year of 2025. And so here we are. Tyler is out. He's done. He had a personal issue that he was going to take care of today, so he's good to go. So I've got you for the next 3 hours, and we'll roll right along. We'll look ahead to the college football playoff tonight, and we will get set for the weekend, a big, big weekend. And I actually am excited to see this weekend. And we'll talk a lot about that. I'll give you my picks. I did yesterday, but we'll break it down a little bit more. We'll get into that. Chris Deering will join us, as he always does on a Friday. We'll do 2 segments with him and discuss what is going on. A lot going on as we wrap up the fall calendar of high school sports, most importantly, high school football. We got some new coaching changes. Basketball is in full effect now as we get going with that. You got plenty of big tournaments. Bojangles Bash just took place, so we'll get in touch with him, and we'll talk football and basketball today. And Brian Edwards, as always, coming up here in about 40 minutes. We'll catch up with him and talk with him about his plays, his picks for the weekend. If you want to be a part of the show, 803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in if you want to do so. Let's start with a couple things going on around South Carolina country. Number one, the transfer yesterday of Brian Rowe, the 4-star wide receiver. Now, this is kind of what I anticipated, maybe not from Rowe, but from some of this wide receiver class that was signed last year. I think you had to be realistic that not everybody was going to be kept, and you had to kind of wonder, okay, who out of that group do you not want to lose the most? And Brian Rowe played this year, and at times he looked dynamic. He looked like a guy that you felt, all right, we need to keep. He is a guy that we've got to hold on to. But then, as the season went along, you got to see Jaden Sellers a little bit. And with that, I went, okay, Brian Rowe, Jaden Sellers, probably about right. Not much difference that I see right now. Malik Clark is a guy who didn't play very much this year, but was highly talented. Remember, he was signed with or committed to Florida State, ended up flipping to South Carolina late in the process. I think he's another guy you don't want to lose. Nick Harbor is back for another year. I don't know about Mazeo Bennett, who's not in that freshman class, but, Donovan Murph is another guy that started to show some progress late in the year. And now you put this new offense in, and all right, if you want to stay, stay. And if you don't, you don't. That's kind of how I feel about it. Nothing wrong with Brian Rowe entering the portal. I think it's a combination of being a loss and not being a loss at the same time. Do you want to keep really good players? Yeah. Do you want to keep guys who don't want to be here, and you've got guys who I think are capable of being of fully replacing them? Okay. No, I'm not as worried about that. So how do you feel about the Brian Rowe situation? 803-404-6100. Are you kind of pro, or I shouldn't say pro, but are you kind of like me? Okay, I don't want to lose him, but at the same time, there's bigger fish to fry when it comes to keeping players here at the University of South Carolina for the 2026 season. Some other guys, particularly on defense, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, Fred Johnson, Judge Collier, Vakari Swain, that I would have in front of him. I'd even probably put a Donovan Darden, who didn't play that much at linebacker, but the reviews he's received, I'd probably rather try and keep him as well. So there are places, and I hate to say it like this, and I don't know this to be the truth, but I'll just say this out loud. There are places now where you have to allocate your money as best well spent. And yesterday we played a clip from Shane Beamer. And in that clip, he basically made it known, we're not going to go into the transfer portal and go crazy with spending money on a running back. Running backs are, compared to quarterbacks and left tackles and defensive ends, running backs are actually fairly cheap. And unless the guy is a true game changer, and I mean a legitimate game, Adrian Peterson, Marcus Lattimore, Leonard Fournette type game changer, I don't think you go spend crazy on a running back. So where's your money best allocated to build a roster suited for the 2026 season? No offense to Brian Rowe, there's no indications that this is money driven, but where is South Carolina's best spent money on what positions and on what else is going on? So we'll talk about that throughout the day. But my personal opinion on the Brian Rowe transfer is, okay. I hate that, but all right. Also, no big deal. So that's that. If you want to weigh in, again, 803-404-6100. Saw something kind of interesting that we'll get back into as a side note to the playoffs that I want to kind of weigh on in with Brian Edwards, but also talk about with y'all. Is Kalen DeBoer coaching for his job tonight? Alabama's a different breed, and they've experienced a lot of success. Is Alabama, it's kind of a Ryan Day situation from last year. Is Kalen DeBoer coaching for his job tonight? So we will talk a little bit about that and get your opinion. One of the main reasons to watch that game tonight. Should be a good game out in Oklahoma, and I like Alabama in that game. I think Alabama wins. I don't think that Oklahoma can force 3 turnovers again, including a pick 6. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just don't see Oklahoma being able to do to Alabama defensively what they did previously. But kind of intrigued by that. So we'll get into that as well this afternoon. Also kind of talk a little bit of basketball as well. The women's team last night absolutely hammering South Florida. And this is the good and bad of being on the women's team of what Dawn Staley has built. They're boring to watch because they win by so much. Has nothing to do with talent, but again, last night they absolutely blow the doors off of South Florida. They score more than 100 points this season. The 7th victory by 40 points or more, 103-44 last night. Joyce Edwards with a phenomenal night. Again, career high, 34 points on 14 of 15 shooting. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it is kind of funny because as I found myself watching the game, I was like, what else is on? Oh, Christmas Vacation. Okay. And I flipped over to that, and I had the Amazon NFL Thursday night game on. But you're watching the women, and you're like, yeah, great. They're up. I think, at one point it was like 63-27. And you're like, what am I, this isn't a game. They're the Harlem Globetrotters, and they're playing your local high school's JV team. And that's really what it is. That's what Dawn has created. And I almost in a way felt bad for turning the channel. And in a way was like, no, I don't feel like watching this because they're the Globetrotters and South Florida is the local JV high school team. And it's the same what happened with Penn State the other day. They win by 50 or whatever it was, 40, I think. Doesn't matter. I stopped watching. But they just dominate pretty much everybody unless they play a top 10, top 15 team. And you're like, okay, I'll tune in now. This one should be pretty good. Should give me a reason to watch. But they win last night. Joyce Edwards, 34 points in that game. Tessa Johnson added 16. Tanaya Latson scored 15. So you had that. And it appears we got to the bottom line of how to say Medina Okot. Okot, I believe is how we said it on the broadcast there. So at least we learned something last night. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so this afternoon. We'll come back. We'll get into a little bit of the college football playoff and what is taking place tonight and this weekend, and that'll lead us into Brian Edwards coming up roughly around 12:30. Bill Gunner in. Tyler Head is started his Christmas vacation. Producer Ed Bird is with me. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for over 30 years now. How about that? 30 years, long time. Long, long time. And when you wonder why, how does somebody stay at the top of the game for over 30 years? Well, it starts in their business with customer service, making sure you, the customer, whether it's your home or your business, is taken care of and done in a proper, safe fashion that makes sure you're comfortable with what they've done. That's why they're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's right. Leaks don't know when they're going to occur. They don't have a watch. So what if it happens at 11 p.m., at 12 a.m., at 1 a.m.? You need somebody to call. That's where Mid-State Roofing comes in. You can speak with an on-call technician, and they'll make sure that you are taken care of. So give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. $12:15 on your Friday, where not a good day for Tyler Head. He is off. He's on vacation. It is a little bit of a personal day, and he doesn't get a true vacation day. But his Kennesaw State team, his secondary team, his Group of Five team is getting waxed in the Myrtle Beach Bowl right now, 34-0 by Western Michigan. It actually is kind of a cool day of bowl games across the board. I say cool day, but okay, kind of interesting. At least Memphis and North Carolina State. I could get into that. I'll get into that at 2:30. And then tonight at 8 o'clock, the first college football playoff game, Alabama and Oklahoma. And we'll talk about that and more here coming up in just a minute. Do want to wish our good friend, the Godfather, old Brian Glenn. It's his birthday today, 35 years of age. So if you see him out and about, tell him he looks old for 35. He's got some grays coming in. That running a pizza joint, multiple pizza joints, will cause you to not look 35. But 35 years of age for old Brian Glenn today. And yes, age has caught and passed that number. But that's okay. It's okay for Brian. He's a good guy. We love him. And happy birthday to Brian Glenn out there. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Yeah, Gene is right. I saw this. I don't know if you saw it too, Gene, and that's why you're bringing it up. Today is the 1 year passing, by the way, I believe, according to the Facebook post I saw from his daughter, Tanya, of Gamecock Larry. And so I do ask you to have him and his family in your thoughts and prayers today. It's been 1 year since Gamecock Larry passed away. And I miss him. You've heard me talk about he was a big part of my life and everything that whether he was giving me grief or whatever, he was special, and I'm glad that he was a part of my life. And I believe it has been according to what his daughter has put up. I believe today is the 1 year anniversary of his passing, and thoughts and prayers with Tanya and with the family and with everybody out there. Definitely was a tough day last year, and we did our best here to try and honor him, and certainly want to continue to do that. Don't want his memory to fade. So, Gene, I'm with you. Our good buddy, Gamecock Larry, what would he be saying right now about this South Carolina football team? What would he be calling, or the basketball team? What would he be calling in and saying each and every morning that it's going to be a new year and 12-0 until proven otherwise is what he would be saying. So thoughts and prayers, and miss him very, very much. 803-404-6100 if you got a Gamecock Larry that you want to weigh in with. All right, college football playoff tonight. Starts tonight. 3 games tomorrow. You know that. Oklahoma, Alabama. Let's start with that one tonight. And we got Brian Edwards coming up here in about 12 minutes. I do wonder tonight if Kalen DeBoer is coaching for his job. Now, good news for Kalen DeBoer. He is a highly thought of coach. If Alabama and him were to part ways, he has no problem. He's going to get a job. There's still some speculation, despite what he said this week, that there's still some speculation that he could end up going to Michigan. And we'll see what Michigan does. I think there's also a lot of speculation. Kyle Whittingham putting out something again last night that basically saying, no, I'm not involved. I'm not looking, Kalen DeBoer has said, I'm not looking. Kyle Whittingham is saying last night that he is in the transfer portal. I love how he's wording this, that he is in the transfer portal, that he is open for business, that he did not retire. He just felt that it was time to move on. It was time for a new look for him. So Kyle Whittingham's name is out there. Now, with that being said, Kalen DeBoer, again, is another name that Michigan is strongly considering. So if something were to fall through with Alabama, it wouldn't be a shock. But is he coaching for his job tonight? You look at this team that Alabama's got coming into this game, I think it might be fair, even at 10-3, to say they underachieved. They lost to a bad Florida State team to open the season, a bad Florida State team. They lost at home to Oklahoma. Championship game is kind of irrelevant, but they probably should be 12-1 if you look at those 2 games. And maybe I don't give Oklahoma enough credit, but if you're an Alabama fan, you're kind of going, all right, we've lost some games here in the DeBoer tenure. I don't know if we should have lost. And we're Alabama. We don't do that. So with all that in mind, is he coaching for his job tonight? Is that what's on the line if they were to lose in Norman? Brent Venables is having a renaissance, and it looks like he's going to retain his quarterback for next year. That's going to be huge. But, the question becomes, all right, what precisely is on the line in this game besides just a berth into the second round of the college football playoff? I feel like it's a little bit more than just, a second round playoff berth. And so I find that kind of interesting. But you look at this game and how it's going to play out. To me, I think Alabama goes in there and it wins in a close one. Wins in a very tight one. That's how I see it. That's how I believe in it. We'll see if that is what comes to fruition. And we'll talk with Brian Edwards coming up here in just a second. But I do want to go back real quick. Producer Ed, I believe we have the clip, and I believe it is from I believe it's from Wednesday. I was trying to, sorry, computer's done. All right. No problem. That's fine. We'll move forward without the clip of audio from Kalen DeBoer talking about his job status and what he's doing at Oklahoma. But I do think tonight's important for him. Do I think he gets fired if he loses? No. I do think that Alabama's crazy enough to do it. But I don't think they pulled the trigger. I think they give him a year 3, so we will see him in Tuscaloosa next September. Moving on till tomorrow, Texas A&M and Miami. So at first I think I wanted to pick A&M. At first I was thinking A&M. I've switched on that. I'm going to go Miami tomorrow. I'm going to go with the Canes. I think the Canes get the job done. I think they're a good team. I haven't bought into A&M just yet. I'm going to go Canes tomorrow in that ball game. Carson Beck has been there. I don't know if anybody caught this. I don't know if Tyler's – well, I've been with him all week. Carson Beck is the only quarterback in this 12-team playoff where he and Gunnar Stockton – Gunnar Stockton is the only one. Carson Beck will be making his debut. Gunnar Stockton is the only quarterback in this playoff that has started a playoff game. What a weird stat that is. You got Julian Sayin, James Madison, the James Madison quarterback, and the Tulane quarterback. They're all basically brand new. Carson Beck, obviously, was at Miami. He hadn't started a playoff game. You've got Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. He has obviously not started a playoff game. First time starting in D1 this past season, so he's kind of similar to Sayin or anybody else. Then you go down the line, and when we get to Texas Tech, he hasn't started a playoff game, obviously. Oregon, Dante Moore. I think Dante did start last year. I might have to check. I might have to fact check Tyler on that if Dante Moore started last year. I don't think he did, though. But you get the point. It's a brand new era for quarterbacks, but I'm going to lean with Carson Beck because of his experience, and he's also played in big games with Miami. So I'm going to take Miami tomorrow. I do take Mississippi. I think Mississippi wins. I watched Booger McFarland last night talk a little bit about this, and Marcus Spears as well. And they believe it's going to be a closer game in Memphis and Tulane than I do. I'm taking Mississippi to cover the 17.5. I think they come out fired up. I think they come out with an edge on their shoulder, wanting to show up Lane Kiffin. I go Mississippi to cover the spread in that ball game. And then the final one tomorrow night is the one that could be the worst of the three. I think Oregon is fully capable of winning the national championship. I think they'd blow the doors off James Madison. It probably doesn't help that James Madison's social media team keeps making little jokes at the expense of Oregon to kind of lighten the mood of this. That ain't going to help. That ain't going to help at all. So I go Oregon big over James Madison tomorrow night. We'll catch up with Brian Edwards next. We'll get his thoughts on the college football playoff and what he's looking forward to, as well as Sunday NFL, what games he's got planned out. You're listening to Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It is the Halftime Show. It is 12:30 on a Friday. Hopefully you're either getting off work to start the vacation or it's not far away for you. So we'll get you ready for a fun weekend here, and it'll all be part of the college football playoff. And joining us now, as he does each and every Friday, to take a look at some college football, take a look at a little NFL, maybe even some college basketball here, our good buddy Brian Edwards. Brian, hope it's been a very nice, very comfortable December for you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah, things are good. Happy holidays to you guys.
Real quick before we get into the picks, I don't know if I've talked to you since because I've been out a little bit, but John Summerall to Florida, how are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Obviously Kiffin was who we wanted, but, with all the drama and the way that played out, maybe we dodged a bullet there because, if DeBoer and Alabama ever get a divorce, he would have sold us down the river and gone there so quick if they want. I don't even know if they want. We may find out about that next week, by the way, depending on what happens tonight. But, I'm liking Summerall. He definitely won the press conference. Press conferences don't win ball games, but I've seen many Gator coaches, Ron Zook, Billy Napier, and Jim McElwain come to mind, that lost the press conference, and it never got any better after that. So I'm liking him so far.
And real quick, Buster Faulkner is OC?
Yep, and got Kentucky's DC.
Okay. Well, no, I just meant how did you feel about Buster? That seems like a great hire.
I like Faulkner. Yeah, no, I had Georgia Tech season win total over. I bet Haynes King's touchdown and rushing yards prop quite a bit this year for some success. So, yeah, I like Faulkner.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured you would. All right. Well, let's look to the college football playoff, and it starts tonight, Oklahoma and Alabama. It looks like you're going against me on this. It looks like we're going to be enemies for about 4 hours. I like Alabama, but it looks like you're taking Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's not a huge opinion by any means. It's not even a medium opinion, but I have a small play on Oklahoma. So they're on a nice run here. They won 4 in a row. They won at Tennessee, at Bama, and then they shut down a really good Missouri offense, held them to only 6 points. Then they didn't cover and didn't look very good in the regular season finale against LSU, but they get past them and secure a playoff spot. And Bama has just seemingly been going the wrong way since their win against Tennessee. They covered against LSU but didn't play very well. Ty Simpson, I believe, has been banged up. I think their offensive line is one of the biggest disappointments in the country in terms of position groups. We'll see if Simpson maybe got a little more healthy. Because he's had 2 weeks off, but he got beat up pretty bad down the stretch. And now they do have Jam Miller back, so that's huge for them. He has missed a few games this year, but they're still ranked only 118 in the nation in rushing yards. And going to be pretty windy tonight. I don't know that it'll affect the passing game for either team, but 15 to 20 mile an hour winds are seemingly a slight edge for Oklahoma because Alabama relies on the pass more so than Oklahoma does. And that's not good when you're going up against a really good Oklahoma defense. So I'm going to go with the Sooners, but again, it's not a huge opinion.
How much stock do you take into the 3 turnovers that Oklahoma forced, the pick 6 at the Alabama game earlier this year? That was a big part of their winning. When you set your opinion on this, or you set your personal line, how much does that come into play?
Yeah, so I had Alabama that day. I was admittedly partying in the Grove. It was the only Gator game I went to. Now, we had a couple of tailgates next to us that had the game on, but when Simpson threw that 85 or 87-yard pick 6 or whatever it was, I kind of clocked out. I kind of tuned out. I mean, obviously, I reviewed the box score. I watched the highlights on SEC and 60, and, Alabama owned the box score, but the critical turnovers, did them in. And, that was a product of Oklahoma's defense, being really good and could be that way and cause turnovers again tonight. We'll see.
He is Brian Edwards joining us. Make sure you check out his work on MajorWager.com and Vegas Insider. You're definitely going to want to read it before you do anything tonight with this game, and you want to read it first thing in the morning as we're getting set for all-day buffet of college football playoff games there, 12, 3:30, and 7:30 tomorrow night. Let's go on to the next bowl game after today. You got a little play on that one. North Carolina State and Memphis taking on each other.
Yeah, let's go with NC State. Now, they're not going to have their stud running back, Hollywood Smothers, who hit the portal yesterday or announced he's hitting the portal, and I'm assuming he's not playing. But I like NC State nonetheless. So if it's 4, that's fine. If it's 3.5, maybe buy that half point to 3 if you can do it for minus 125, or I wouldn't go any more than minus 130. Juice, but NC State's won back-to-back games in 3 of their last 4, but straight up and against the spread. Memphis is without its coach, Ryan Silverfield. Their starting offensive tackle, Travis Burke, who had the best offensive tackle grade per Pro Football Focus in all of the AAC. He's very questionable, missed the regular season finale. And, the only loss for NC State here recently was at Miami. Like I said, they've covered in 3 of their last 4, with the only blemish being the Canes defeat, and that included a win over Georgia Tech, 48-36. So C.J. Bailey's playing really good for NC State right now. I like the Wolfpack.
Let's stay tonight for just a second, and then we'll get to the games tomorrow. But tonight, I think this is tonight. You just sent it to me, but Seton Hall plus 1.5 at Providence in hoops.
Yeah, 6:30 Eastern on FS1. This Seton Hall team has been one of the nation's biggest surprises. They went out to the Maui Classic and played really well. They beat NC State by double digits. They lost to a USC team that's 11-1 with Eric Musselman. They lost to them by 2, but covered. And they've been an underdog 3 times this year, 3-0 against the spread, 2 outright wins. They also won at Kansas State by 11. I had them last Saturday laying, I believe it was 10 or 11, and they beat Rutgers at home by 22. They've won 9 of their 10 wins have been by 11 or more, whereas Providence, they are 0-5 in their 5 games against Ken Palm top 100 competition. So let's go Seton Hall plus 1.5 on the road at Providence tonight.
All right, so just for tonight, Oklahoma, I should say NC State coming up after at 2:30 after the bowl game currently on that Western Michigan is up 34-0 in. Oklahoma tonight in football minus the 1 and Seton Hall. All right, let's go to tomorrow, back to the college football playoff. And Ole Miss and Tulane, and you like a team total here?
Yeah, I'm going to go Ole Miss team total over. It's either 36.5 or 37.5. I would like it all the way to 38. When they played Tulane at home in Week 4, they had 548 yards of total offense in a 45-10 win. They got to 45 with more than 8 minutes left, and Ole Miss 5th in the nation in total offense and passing yards. I think they get to at least 38. So let's go team total over in that one.
But just questioning, that line's 17.5. To me, when you say that, I know you didn't send it to me, so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. If you like it up to 38.5, the fact that Pete Golding, the defense coordinator, is still with this team, is now the head coach, gives me hope the defense will play fairly well. Do you have a slight lean or anything to the 17.5 that they're the favorite of?
I just don't like laying that many points. I'm just going to do the team total over. I mean, just team total over. I got no lean on the side there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. If you like the team total up over 38.5, I feel good about me taking 17.5 for Ole Miss to cover the spread. Let's go to
that's
the NFL
fair.
here. Huh?
That's fair.
Let's go to some NFL games here. Detroit is looking to come back, battle back. They've been struggling a little bit of lately. They get the Steelers. They get the Steelers tomorrow. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I like the Lions here. So go back to early November of 2023 when they're coming off a loss in the regular season in bounce-back mode. They're 15-0, 14-1 against the spread, 10 wins by double-digit margins. The only non-cover in those 15 bounce-back games was against Jameis Winston and the Giants about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And the Steelers are on a short week going on the road after beating the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. I like the Lions minus the 7. And I'm also on their team total to go over 30.5.
Okay. And I'm sorry I said tomorrow, but now my days are all mixed up.
All good.
That is on a Sunday, and that game is, by the way, in Detroit. So take that there and go with that. The other one you like is New York and Minnesota this weekend. You got a little play on that?
Yeah, I'm on the Vikings here. Playing pretty good here of late, back-to-back wins in the 4 road games that J.J. McCarthy has started at quarterback. They're 3-1, both straight up and against the spread. Let's see, in the back-to-back wins they've got the last 2 weeks, McCarthy 5 touchdown passes compared to only 1 pick and a rushing touchdown. Giants have lost 8 in a row, 6 of those defeats by at least 7. Let's go Vikings -3 at New York.
And your final play of the week here is Jacksonville and Denver. That game 4:05 on Sunday. By the way, again, Minnesota and New York is 1 o'clock on Sunday. But 4 o'clock in Denver, Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, who are playing very well, they travel to Denver.
Yeah, Jags are playing really well, no doubt about it. But Denver has won 11 in a row. They have not tasted defeat since September 21st. They're undefeated at home. And if there's one thing, I'm not talking to downgrade the Jags. They are playing good ball. But in their last 5 games against teams with a winning record, they're 2-3 in those games. And one of the 2 wins was when Daniel Jones got injured there late first quarter, early second, against the slumping Colts, whenever that was, like 3 weeks ago. So give me the Broncos -3. And I got one more for you, Gunner. Marcel Reed tomorrow, the Texas A&M quarterback, over 33.5 rushing yards prop. That's what I'm going with there. I don't trust either team on the side or the total, but I'll go Marcel Reed over 33.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I was going to ask you real quick because we got just about 2 minutes left. Do you have a favorite for the college football playoff? Did you put in a overall favorite, a futures bet?
Yeah, I grabbed Texas Tech at 9-1 a week or so back. I'm not against Georgia at 6-1. I mean, I like their chances. I just I feel like I could have got a better number. We all could have got a better number a month ago, man. We could have got Georgia around 15-1 or better. And shame on us for not getting that. Well, we'll see on that. But I'm not against this future play on Georgia, and I've got Texas Tech.
And any opinion, just one way or the other, Oregon, and you mentioned it, no lean whatsoever. You did take, again, Oklahoma. You mentioned Ole Miss is not something you're going to mess with. But any opinion whatsoever on Oregon, James Madison, if somebody's just wanting to put up a $25 spot or bet their buddy for a soda, what you would do in that situation tomorrow night with James Madison and Oregon in the late game?
Yeah, if I have a good day tomorrow, I'll probably throw a little something on it. And if I do, it would be JMU, but I would need 21. And since we got a touch more time, I'll add a couple player props I'm doing in the Ole Miss game. I did Trinidad Chambliss over, I believe it was 38.5 rushing yards. He had 118 rushing yards against Tulane early in the year. And then I did Jake Retzlaff, Tulane's QB, over 37.5 rushing yards. He had 51 rushing yards at Ole Miss earlier this season.
Okay. All good stuff, buddy. We are off for the next 2 weeks, so we will speak to you again when the 2026 year kicks off and start talking a little college basketball, if that's good with you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, let's do it. Have a great Christmas, man. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Always glad to do it. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com and Vegas Insider. That's where you can check out his work. Give him a call, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Shoot him a text, Twitter message. I will get to it. You can hit him at Vegas B Edwards and ask him questions. He'll gladly respond. Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird will come back, wrap up hour number 1. You're listening to the Halftime Show. It is 12:49 on your Friday. Hope you're doing well out there. Thank you again to Brian Edwards for joining us, and we will have Chris Deering coming up here at 1:15. He'll be with us for 2 segments, a lot to cover in the high school ranks, and we'll be off for 2 weeks, so we'll get a lot from him coming up. 803-404-6100. I mentioned earlier, Kalen DeBoer asked earlier this week on Monday if he will coach at Alabama next season. Again, I think this is an interesting little test for Alabama tonight. I think there's a possibility he's coaching for his job. I just don't think Alabama fans are that crazy. But here's Kalen DeBoer on Monday asked if he will coach at Alabama next year. I'm sorry, Tuesday. Well, he was asked Monday. I'm sorry. It's on our sheet.
Come on, Nick.
I'm sorry.
All right, I put a statement out yesterday because first of all, our guys handle distractions phenomenally. It's been that way all season long. They continue to do that. And so, but I also, knew that yesterday and today was pretty important. I wasn't going to see until today to address it. So that's why I put that out there. A lot of the same things I said before, a couple of weeks ago when asked really the same question. Just, feel completely supported. My family loves living here. Just all the things that we continue to build on. Love the progress. Haven't talked with anyone. No plans of talking with anyone. So I think that's a lot of what I said a couple weeks ago, and it continues to be the same thing. Feel strong about it. And our guys, if there's been any distraction, I haven't seen it, haven't felt it. And so I'm really proud of the way they've handled whatever noise is out there. And again, we've probably all season long have dealt with enough noise to where it doesn't surprise me on how they handle this.
So that was him. That's Kalen DeBoer. Now, if you noticed, at least in that moment, he's saying, my decision, I'm not going anywhere. Alabama fans might feel a little bit differently. Alabama's administrators might feel a little bit differently if he loses tonight. Again, I think it would be crazy to fire him, but I think Alabama fans are slightly crazy. So it wouldn't. I don't put it past them. I don't know who you'd hire. Would Lane Kiffin leave LSU immediately to go to Alabama? I don't put it past him to do that. But we'll see tonight. Now here's Brent Venables. This is again from earlier in the week. This is Brent Venables on his mindset. Remember, Brent Venables has been pretty up and down there at Oklahoma, and now he's got them sitting out. A rooftop situation here. They feel good about themselves. Here's Brent Venables talking about his mindset entering the college football playoff tonight.
All right, people are feeling pretty good right now. I got to crank it up, and making sure people aren't satisfied with making it to the playoffs. We had a bye week, so now the first day coming back, hey man, when game plan's already done, no it ain't. And so having a pulse, for that. Times again, you got to make people uncomfortable. Some people may not like it, and my job is just to help make them better and get them to do what we need them to do so we can be successful. And it's all centered on helping the players and what's best for them. But I'm no more demanding of anybody else. Not like I'm making people stay up here and guard their desk. That's not my style at all. But when we're here, man, it's 10 and 10 on the treadmill. Let's go get it.
Now, Clemson fans, you know better than pretty much anybody. Brent Venables, the intensity, the seriousness, the way he is as it pertains to getting his team, his defense back then, his team ready. They'll be ready tonight. I just don't know if they're better than Alabama. Again, I say I'm not sure on whether or not how much of a difference. And it played a difference, but can they replicate anything? The 3 turnovers and the pick 6 they had against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So we'll see about that. We'll continue to talk about that coming up throughout the show. Here real quick is also Pete Golding. Now we talked about Mississippi and Tulane. The defensive coordinator's back. That's big for them. Some offensive assistants are back. But here is Pete Golding getting ready for tomorrow, talking about the reality of being a head coach setting in.
With no, I really don't plan to. I think, we owe this to the team, to the fans, to the university. To have blinders on right now, I know what it takes to win football games. I know what it takes to be successful in defense, and it's hard work, and you got to do it better than anybody else, and you got to be willing to do things that they're not. I think when you start getting caught up in moments and start taking pictures and do all that, your focus is on the wrong thing. And so for this is something hopefully whenever that last game is, and we put it, forth our best effort, whatever the result of that is, then you'll have some time to sit back and kind of look back on it and be able to evaluate it. Did you do it the right way? Could we do it better and all that? But right now, I'm not trying to enjoy anything. I'm trying to prepare extremely hard and get a good plan in place for these players and hold them accountable to practice the right way and prepare the right way to give them themselves the best chance. So that would be at a later time. I'll let my kids do that.
So there's Pete Golding on accepting the reality of being a head coach and what that means for him. If you were listening to the previous segment with Brian Edwards, you heard me say Brian likes the over team total of 38.5 for Mississippi. I think he said it's about 36.5, but he likes it all the way up to 38.5. If you tell me that, and then you tell me the fact that the defensive coordinator is back, so there's continuity there for a team that they've already beaten by 5 touchdowns this year against a team they've already beaten by 5 touchdowns. All right, I'll take Mississippi minus 7.5, and I like that. We'll come back. Hour number 2 on the way. Chris Deering will join us. It is the Halftime Show. 1 o'clock on a Friday. Bill Gunner, producer Edbert, Tyler head off for the rest of the year. Good for him. And then he and I will officially be back together on Tuesday, January the 6th. I have a doctor's appointment, an all-day doctor's appointment on January the 5th. So I will be out that day. But Tyler will be back, as will Captain David Dare. And then Tyler and all of us will be back together coming up on Tuesday, January the 6th. Mark your calendars accordingly. 803-404-6100. So it's been a busy 7 days. Last Friday, Shane Beamer officially announced the hirings of Stan Drayton, Randy Clements as offensive line coach, and Kendall Briles. And on Wednesday of this week, Shane Beamer joined Jay Phillips and Terry Ford. He talked about the process of hiring Kendall Briles and the Briles offense. This is one of the bigger things here for the month. So I tell you what, let's revisit here what Shane Beamer had to say on the post-game show. And let's start with how Shane Beamer handled and what he did during the process of the hiring of Kendall Briles.
Yeah, it was a very, very thorough process, certainly. I hated making a change. I care about the people that I had to move on from, but had to do what I felt was best for our program and the people that, are looking to me and that I know I'm responsible for. And when I made that decision, when I did, it for a lot of reasons, but from a future standpoint, it allowed me really a head start in so many ways. I mean, my focus was on the season and finishing up the season the right way, but I was able to typically during the season, Thursday afternoons and Thursday nights, Friday mornings are a little bit of a slower time because most of the game planning work is done. So I was really able to, have some phone conversations and do some things with potential candidates and do my research on guys during that time. So I was full speed ahead on the process while the season was going on, and talked to a lot of people and really aimed high in that. I was the majority of the conversations I had were with offensive coordinators at the Power 4 level, Big 10, ACC, SEC, and Big 12, and talked to coordinators in all four of those conferences during this process. Some other Group of 5 coordinators that, I researched and looked into, but certainly the more I looked into it and the more I found out about Kendall, the more excited I got about him. And it was not something that, Jeremiah came to me and said, hey, we need to think about Kendall Briles. It was more, I started meeting with Jeremiah and Jeff Crane in November. We would meet weekly and just talk about all things regarding the football program. And certainly the coordinator search was part of it, just giving them weekly updates. And as it became clear that Kendall was somebody that I wanted to talk to, Jeremiah was an amazing resource just because he had hired him and worked with him and could tell me things about him from a personal level, professional level, along with the many other people that I reached out to regarding Kendall. So in the end, Jeremiah was a great resource, he and Jeff both, not just with Kendall, but with everyone that I was interested in, and we're a big part of getting this thing done.
And interesting what I take away. And again, I try to be clear. Let me say I'm saying this. Nobody else here at this station. It's my opinion only. But one thing I feel like I take away from that is Jeremiah Donati is being a little bit more hands-on in this process. And I will continue to say right now, I think to me that shows maybe a little bit more that he's working with Shane Beamer, but he's also given Shane Beamer some assurances that don't fall flat on your face next year. And I'll give you a year 7, if you will. I'll give you 2 years here that, hey, don't be stressed out thinking next year is the pivotal year. And I say that thinking, well, if South Carolina goes 6-6 next year, I think you can expect a year 7 of Shane Beamer. If it's less than 6-6, then I think we got to figure out some things, and that'll be on the AD there. But it's interesting to hear him talk about how Jeremiah Donati was involved in the process and what he did, and not from a bad standpoint. I'm not saying, look, I think you love to have your athletic. You don't want your athletic director to make decisions for you, but there's no problem in guidance and help and trying to find the right guy to turn this program around. And so I took that away. Now here's the other part of it. We're going to see we are expecting to see an entirely different offense than anything we've seen from the Shane Beamer first 5 years. This is expected to be entirely different. And here's Shane Beamer. Again, this is on Wednesday with Jay and Terry talking about the Kendall Briles offense.
It certainly is different if you look at backgrounds. It is what it is, Terry. I think if I had gone out and said I'm going to hire the wide receivers coach for the Baltimore Ravens and he's going to bring a pro-style offense to Columbia, I'm not sure how well that would have gone over. And I'm not dumb. But if I felt like the wide receivers coach, whoever that is, for the Baltimore Ravens was the best person for the job, then I certainly would have done it. But, I will say this. I believe the people that have talked about we've been running this complicated pro-style offense for the last few years, I think that's, not exactly accurate. I mean, I think any offense, there may be pro elements to it. I'm sure with Kendall Briles' offense, there's pro elements to it. Hell, I hope so. But in regards to the terminology, concepts, things like that, sure, it's a little bit different. And a lot of the systems we've had, whether it be Marcus Satterfield, Dow Loggins, or Mike Shula, there's been a lot of carryover because all of those guys, had spent time in the NFL. I mean, Marcus Satterfield was in the NFL for one season. He was a college offensive coordinator before that. And the previous offensive coordinator before Shula, he had been at Arkansas for a year, so he had been exposed to a college offense. So it is a little bit different. I was very adamant, to be completely honest, in this process. I wanted to hire a current college offensive coordinator. And the game is just different. When you start talking about some concepts, you start talking about terminology, you talk about hash marks, the rules. It's different in college football compared to the NFL. Not to mention, I think the one thing people don't talk about is the NFL, that's their job. And they come in the building, these pro guys do at whatever time, 7 a.m., and they're there till 7 o'clock at night. Well, we get them 4 hours a day. And then they're off to class, and they're playing, Fortnite till 11 p.m. back in their dorm room. So you've got to be smart about that, and I was very cognizant of that. And
so there's two main things there, how the process went down, and, again, the Briles offense. If you missed any of that full interview, and I'm going to play one more clip from it here in just a second, but if you missed any of that full interview, you can go to our website, 1075thegame.com, go to the shows tab, and click on the postgame show. You can find the full interview there. But one other portion of this that now we await. As of last Saturday morning, there were national reports coming out that LaNorris Sellers was very close to, I know, it's annoying, re-signing with the University of South Carolina, agreeing to a new deal, if you will. And now we sit here on Friday. I thought we would have an announcement by today, an official announcement where we all went, oh, that's great, let's all celebrate. Well, we don't have it, but here is Shane Beamer. Again, this is from Wednesday with Jay and Terry, and this is him talking about the status of LaNorris Sellers returning to South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some of that information from you guys and just refreshing social media to see if there's anything new on that one. We've had great conversation. Okay, well, I think it is. So everything's good, and I think there's some, certainly details that need to be worked out and things like that. And let's face it, nowadays these guys have, agents and whatnot. So there's a lot of different aspects of every player on our team that's different than before. But my conversations with LaNorris have been fantastic, and this isn't just since the end of the season. This is regularly throughout the season. Since the season, before the season ended, and then since the season has ended, just in regards to, how we get better and how he gets better as a quarterback. And he'll be the first to tell you he needs to play better, and we've got to coach him better, and we've got to be better around him, and we all have to be accountable, and he understands that. So we've had some great conversations throughout the season, since the end of the season, and like with him, just like all of our players, want this place to be a place where they want to be, where they can accomplish all their goals academically and athletically, and that's certainly still the case here at Carolina. Nothing's changed, and all indications I've had from LaNorris are he wants to be here, and he knows that the job's not finished, and there's a lot of excitement about 26, and he and a lot of our other players that are returning feel that same way.
So that's a lot. Again, if you want to hear the interview in whole, go to 1075thegame.com and make sure you check it out. Listen on our podcast page. I think you can even go back to our YouTube page, 1075 The Game, and listen there. But that was a big part of this week, listening to Shane Beamer now, as we officially have Kendall Briles, Stan Drayton, and Randy Clements all in the bag for being a part of the new staff. And we await now on the announcement, the official announcement of LaNorris Sellers. So if you want to weigh in on any of that, 803-404-6100. We come back. We'll talk some high school football and some high school hoops. Chris Deering's off for 2 weeks, so we got to get a lot in. So we're going to do 2 segments. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. That's right. Jacob Crowder's been helping the Midlands, whether you're looking to refinance, remodel, build, or buy. He's been helping them for over 20 years. He helped me just about 5 years ago, and he is ready to help you. All you got to do is make a phone call and see what options are available to you. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Reach out to Jacob today. Give him a call. Give First Palmetto Bank a call. Again, see what options are available to you and what the numbers are, and tell him Bill Gunner sent you. Oh, it is a busy time of year in the high school sports scene, and nobody covers it better than our good buddy Chris Deering joining us. You got the high school state championships a few weeks ago, the North-South game, the Shrine Bowl. We're finding out about some coaching changes, but more importantly right now, boy, Chris, basketball season is in full swing with holiday tournaments.
Absolutely. You know, this is a really good time of year to see a lot of basketball teams in one area. And the next couple of weeks, got several tournaments here in the Midlands, a couple of girls tournaments, I think, and some boys tournaments. The two big ones, I think, are two new ones on the landscape. You know, we lost the Chick-fil-A Classic that was,
here in Columbia at Richland Northeast and River Bluff over the last, 25 years. But that one folded, but we're trying to get some tournaments to replace that one, and got the Round Ball Classic over at Lexington starting December 26th after Christmas, and then you got another one starting on, what's the date of that one? December 29th over at Irmo, the Big Red Box tournament that's being hosted by the Yellow Jackets. So a couple big boys tournaments right there. This could have a lot of teams in it and a lot of ranked teams in it. So that's going to be a lot of fun to get out and see those games.
The Round Ball Classic is something that Robert Wells brought with him from BC to Lexington this year, and it does have some really fun names in it, some big names. Give us a little breakdown of what you've seen from that tournament and what's going on there at Lexington High School.
Yeah, he's got a lot of really talented in-state teams in this tournament, and I think you got to start off with a Burns team that's got Colton Fowler, one of the top senior, or I don't think he's a senior, he might be a junior. He's a point guard, coach's son. He's exciting to watch. I can tell you that. He was on that state championship game. He was in that state championship game when Lexington won it all with Cam Scott. I think he was a freshman that year, and he's gotten better. He's grown. He's a point guard, and it's nothing to see him have a 25, 28-point night with 10 or 12 assists, looking at his numbers across the board. So Burns was a really good team to watch in that one. One of the private schools here in Columbia, Ben Lippin, Maddox Stockman, and Bryson Stockman, a couple brothers. Those kids are really good. They score, 25 points a game as well. You got the host Lexington team. Fort Mill is good. On the other side of the bracket, you got a really good North Augusta team that I actually went and watched on Tuesday night play Gray Collegiate. That was North Augusta came into the game number 1 in 4A. Gray Collegiate was number 3 at that time, and Gray Collegiate beat them. It was a really good game, really well played game, and the new rankings came out yesterday, and now Gray Collegiate's number 1 in 4A, and North Augusta's number 2. So they're in that tournament. T.L. Hanna, C.A. Johnson, a team that I think is going to be very hard to beat in Class A. They played Ridgeview a couple weeks ago as part of the Bojangles Bash, and that game ended up 72-71. Ridgeview won that game. So C.A. Johnson's really talented. Matter of fact, in that game, one of their better players fouled out about middle of the fourth quarter, so that game might have turned out different if McCray was around at the end. You got a Dutch Fork team that's in it. They're ranked number 3 in 5A right now, Division 1. They got a lot of good talent over there. I saw Justice Bell. They're a senior, just signed with USC Aiken. So a lot of good talent going to be over at Lexington, or that post-Christmas tournament.
Let's go back to the tournament that took place. That's now kind of the big one in state, brings in big out-of-state programs. The Bojangles Bash. I know we had Brian Rosefield here a few weeks ago promoting it, and that took place last weekend, essentially. What did you see from there? What did you hear? What do you know? And what did you think?
Well, I mean, I think that gave what that tournament is, and it's not really a tournament, it's a showcase for that one. It's a 3-day showcase that they only had the one game on Thursday with C.A. Johnson and Ridgeview, but it gave, local state teams a chance to play really top-notch out-of-state competition. Jermaine O'Neal's team out of Texas came in here, and they're ranked in the country. They got one of the top players in the 2027 class, and I can't remember. I know they played Ridgeview. I can't remember who else they played in the showcase, but they played 2 games. A couple other nationally ranked teams were here. It was just a really good, showcase for basketball, and I think it gives coaches in this area really a measuring stick. Like I say, C.A. Johnson was in it, Gray Collegiate was in it, Ridgeview was in it. All 3 of those teams have a chance to win state championships this year. But it lets them kids see that, this is what they need to improve on there are teams out there better than them, and they just need to keep working and getting better every single day. And I think that's really important for these kids to go through that. I know right now, speaking of Gray Collegiate, they're up in a tournament in Tennessee, and Dorman's in that same tournament. And I'll be honest, it would not surprise me to see Gray Collegiate and Dorman. They're on opposite sides of the bracket from what I could see looking at it yesterday. They might meet in the championship, and how cool would that be to get two South Carolina teams meet in a championship in a tournament in Tennessee? I think that's a possibility. But I think that you just playing that level of competition gives you a different outlook on things and makes you work on the things you need to work on and get better at it. And I think that makes those teams better in February or March when you try to win a state championship.
Yeah, it does. I can speak from experience on that. Bailey Harris would have constantly Lexington, and in my years, we went to the Round Ball, what was then the Round Ball Classic, down in Charleston, and we played some really good teams. We played St. Pat. We played Bishop Laughlin, which at that time featured Michael Boynton, and we also played Chuck Idson and Pinewood Prep, and we stunk. For my teams, my junior and senior year that made the state championship, we went a combined 1-6 in our Christmas tournaments. Because my senior year we went out to Vegas and just got leveled by Simi Valley, and then we played Austin Ainge, the son of Danny Ainge's son's team. We played two other teams. It was a great experience, and it kind of made you realize where you're at in terms of overall talent and what you can take back to your back then Region 4, what you can take back to your region for conference play, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I think it gives kids a wake-up call that, that they play in competition here that might not be on the level that they are. And, you win them by 15, 20, 25 points a night, and then you go up against somebody really good, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, we might not be that good. Maybe we need to listen to Coach Bailey Harris and go through what he tells us. And so I think that helps these teams definitely in the postseason when it gets around here. And again, I'm looking forward to these tournaments coming up the week after Christmas. And, like I said, the Bash was really good to get these teams. With the Chick-fil-A, that thing grew where it was a national thing. And I know Robert Wells at Lexington, that's his vision to get this thing bigger where he can get in some nationally ranked teams to come in from out of state. He's working towards that. I think he's going to get there, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch that thing grow as he keeps building that tournament.
You also mentioned the Red Box Classic over at Irma. What can you tell us about that for anybody looking to get out a little bit and go check out another tournament?
Yeah, like I said, I think that was a new one on the landscape. I don't remember them playing this in the past.
No, it doesn't sound familiar at all, Chris. It doesn't. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Chris Dorsey is the owner of Big Red Box, and he played at Irma, played for Coach Tim Whipple back in the 80s. So it looks like he's sponsoring a tournament over there, and they they have some good teams there as well. You start off with the Irma team that they're ranked in the Class 5A Division II poll. West Side is in there. Lugoff Elgin's good. Catawba Ridge. I saw Spring Valley beat Lexington last night, so Spring Valley's in that tournament. And then they got a team out of New York. Don't know much about that team, so looking forward to see how good they are. Matter of fact, I hadn't seen the brackets for that tournament yet, so it'll be interesting to see who that team out of New York is matched up against in the beginning. But like I say, the Rounds Ball Classic at Lexington runs December 26th through the 28th, and then the Big Red Box Tournament picks up right after that, December 29th to 31st. So you got an opportunity for the 5-6 days after Christmas to see really good basketball before the new year falls on the 31st.
Real quick, just because I can make this personal, and Chris, you covered it back then. Irmo is my hated Lexington rival. We didn't have River Bluff or White Knoll. It was always Irmo, and those games attracted a lot of attention. And I'll just say this, that feels like that's all that's good with the world against all that's bad with the world. Our gym at Lexington is nice and bright and shiny, and it's got great lighting. And then you go to Irmo, and it's yellow lighting, and it's dark, and it's the Temple of Doom. And I have had bad experiences in there as a player and a coach. I feel like the Lexington tournament is all that's good with the world. So a little shot at any of the Irmo people out there from my days being at Lexington and graduating and playing. And those were fun matchups against some really, really great players back in the day, and always drew a crowd. Real quick, about 3 minutes left in this segment. Then we're going to switch to football in the next segment. But on the women's side of things, I saw Lexington. You mentioned Lexington and Spring Valley last night. I saw Lexington just thumped Spring Valley in the women's game. Anybody on the women's side that's really catching your attention here early on?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I've always said this, Bill. I think you can go back and look at some of the things I've said. I do feel like that basketball runs through the city of Columbia, Lexington, and I think that's going to continue to be the case in the near future anyway. So let me pull up the rankings here real quick because I had these up earlier. So on the girls' side of things, I think you got to look at, Keenan's going to be there. I think Dutch Fork is good again. I think that Lexington team is really good. Who am I missing here? I'm trying to think. I can't find the rankings either, so I showed you I don't even know how to work a computer. Maybe if I search John Combs, that might help.
All right. Well, we'll don't worry about it. We'll get to it in a few weeks. Basketball season will still be going on, but certainly want to give the ladies props and for everybody out there working. I did see that last night that Lexington dominated Spring Valley. So I tell you what, we'll hit a break with you because there is some. We got the North-South game that just took place. We've got the Shrine Bowl that's taking place tomorrow, and we've had some big coaching news as well. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Rolling along with Chris Deering on your Friday afternoon, talking some basketball. A lot of great high school basketball tournaments taking place, specifically right here in the Midlands over Christmas break. And if you want to get out, I know for me, probably take Austin to go check out a game and show him players that just he hadn't seen. And so sometimes if you got a son or daughter, good idea to get out on an afternoon and just go check out some great local high school action and get immersed in the local community. So a lot of great stuff there. Now, on the flip side, we have finally somewhat wrapped up the high school football season. Chris, and North-South game last week. We'll start with that. I'm not sure if you were able to get down and cover that, but your thoughts and feelings on what you heard and what you saw from there.
I would tell you, I was not down to cover it, but that was one of the more entertaining North-South games that's happened in the last few years. I did go back and watch it. Wasn't able to watch it live on Saturday, but I did go back and watch it. The North team won. It was 35-27, 35-28, and it was back and forth, very entertaining. A lot of talent on the field in that game, and I thought for the most part, I thought it was, a lot of times in these all-star games you get disjointed. Defenses usually dominate. The offenses you don't see much out of the offense. But I thought this situation was a lot of offensive guys were able to showcase what they can do, and that was good to see. That was a different type thing, and I will tell you the MVPs of that game, Mike Foster and R.J. Brown. I saw R.J. Brown in the state championship. The second time I'd seen him this year. He's running back from South Point, and man, that kid can go. He's built he's rock solid. Surprised he didn't get any bigger offers than what he's gotten, which I don't know where he's going to school, but he's talented and has a future, I think, playing at the next level. But yeah, so a couple guys there that won MVP honors, and again, I thought it was a very, very entertaining game. The Mike Foster kid's going to Clemson. He's out of Indian Land. And R.J. Brown, that was two really good performances by those guys last week.
Just given that who his father is and everything, I saw Stone Furry called a touchdown last week. Has there been any announcement on where he goes, or do you feel like it's possible he ends up as a preferred walk-on in South Carolina?
I've not seen where he's going. It would not surprise me if it was a preferred walk-on situation out South Carolina. Don't know that for sure. Don't know anything in that aspect. But maybe Stone wants to go and walk his own path. Not really sure what his plans are, but I don't think he signed with anybody in the early signing period. And I mean, it's not to get off on a whole other subject we could take a whole segment on, but it's tough for these high school kids today with the transfer portal. Had several conversations over the last 2 weeks. Would you want a 21, 22-year-old to spend in a college weight program for 2 or 3 years, or an 18-year-old kid coming out of high school? And I think the question is answered easily. You want the older guy that's been in a college weight room for 2 or 3 years, and it makes it difficult for some of these high school seniors to find the right landing spot. And with the portal now, and they might it might be a year or two where they stay somewhere and then look to move on after that. That's just the climate we're in right now, unfortunately.
Let's go to the Shrine Bowl this week. Your thoughts and feelings on that. I don't know if you're going up there tomorrow. I haven't quizzed you on your schedule for the weekend, but what you're hearing from practices up there, who's standing out, and maybe who has something to prove.
So we've had the Prep Red Zone staff. I've not been up there, but we've had somebody at practice 2 or 3 days this week. So we've been up there, looking at the guys very closely, and it's the names that you really expect. Jazavion Currents, the South Carolina commit, has really stood out according to our reporters who've been up there. Caden Ramsey, another South Carolina commit from Cross High School. He didn't play against the big boys in 5A and 4A, but he played a really tough thing. But this Caden Ramsey kid, he's 6'5". He's lean. He plays. I think he's going to play in the secondary in the Shrine Bowl. But South Carolina likes him as a tight end. I'm sure South Carolina's going to put some weight on him so he can play inside at tight end, play in tight, or he can even line up outside and create some mismatches. I've seen Ramsey since he was a sophomore. Kid is fantastic. Just to show you what type of player he is, he's also going to be the long snapper in this All-Star game. You don't really pick a long snapper for an All-Star game, so you usually have to find one. And I think Cade Ramsey can fill that role this weekend. Some other names up there are Kristen Lewis, the athlete out of Greenwood, another South Carolina commit. He's been playing in the secondary. He's got a hand injury. I think they would have, put him in maybe at quarterback some if he didn't have the hand injury. But and so he's playing in the defensive backfield. Sequel Patterson, the kid out of Indian Land, he's looked really good at wide receiver. Again, another South Carolina commit. So I think South Carolina fans should be excited about some of these local kids that they have coming to Columbia next year.
Tyler and I, real quick on Caden Ramsey. Tyler and I yesterday talked about the tight end situation at South Carolina. Is he ready to come in and contribute, or is he more of kind of a wide receiver body that's going to need a year to kind of put some bulk on to handle blocking in the SEC?
He might need a year to put some bulk on him. Like I said, he's pretty lean. And we were actually talking about this earlier this week ourselves on Prep Red Zone. We don't know if he's going to be a mid-year enrollee or not. I think we were trying to find that out this week, and I don't know if we ever nailed that down. It would definitely help him, but I think he's playing basketball across, so I don't think he's going to be a mid-year enrollee. I could be totally wrong about that. But, we got another local kid that's playing tight end, Mike Tyler. I know he played a lot on special teams this year. He might be able to fit into a tight end role next year and be more productive. I think they got Brady Hunt coming back. I think I saw where he announced that. So the tight end rooms can have some talent in there. And, I think Cade Ramsey is going to be a fantastic player when he bulks up and is able to put his hand in the dirt and like I say, block on the interior in the SEC. But I also think they're going to be able to put him out wide like they do with Brady Hunt and give him some opportunities to make plays out in space as well.
Let's move to some, and thank you for the answer on that. Gives some people an idea of what to expect. But let's move to now some coaching changes. And the big one here in the Midlands that came out yesterday, I believe, is the news of White Knoll losing their head coach. What do you know? What can you share?
Yeah, Nick Pelham, he's been at White Knoll. He's built White Knoll into a really good program. Made a state championship game appearance 2 years ago. Lost to Irmo last year, and I think it was in the semifinals. Lost to Irmo this year in the third round. So he's had a really good program at White Knoll. He is taking the job at Lake Wiley, a new school that's opening this year up around Clover. So that's a big role to fill here in the Midlands. By my count, and we were looking at this again, this is something we looked at this week, I think there's 14 job openings in the state right now, and White Knoll is one of the more attractive ones, I feel like. You got Conway over at the beach. You got Chapin here in the Midland, who's also open. And then May River down near the Hilton Head area, that one's open. North Myrtle Beach is open. St. James is open. So you got some bigger schools that's open, and then you got 96 that's open, Liberty that's open, Whale Branch, Wagner Sally. So a lot of job openings right now. There's going to be more. This is probably not the end of it, and this could be interesting to see what coaches move where. And then, we thought about this as well this week, and it took us a few games into the season to figure everything out this past year, but we also got to watch the transfer portal in high school. There's going to be kids going to different schools than where they are right now, and a lot of these transfers are going to happen now at the Christmas break. I think it's the end of the semester, start of a new semester. So you see a lot of kids moving around, and a lot of them are going to announce it on Twitter, and I'm going to be right there retweeting it. But not what I like to see in the high school ranks, but that's where we are right now. And I hope all the decisions these kids are making are putting them in a better position.
One other one that you mentioned, Belton Honea Path, I believe, is what you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that one came open this week, really unexpectedly. BHP has been in the last 2 state championships, lost to Oceanside both years. This past year, they were 14-1, and Russell Blackston is the coach up there. Has done a really good job, and he basically announced that it sounded like he announced that he's not being retained as the coach at BHP going forward. So that's an interesting job that's open that I don't think anybody in the state expected that one to be open. And, I don't want to speculate on why he's no longer the coach, but it did have the little dust up with Oceanside at the end of the game in the state championship game where it turned really ugly. So I don't know if anything is stemming from that, but he's going to land somewhere. I don't think he's done coaching. So he might get one of these open jobs that's out there. And then, again, BHP has been in the state championship 2 years in a row, so that's a very attractive statewide job.
Chris, we always appreciate it. Out of time, but I appreciate the audience. A lot to get to today. Look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks when we come back.
Hey, I appreciate it. You guys have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and wishing you guys well.
Take care. Chris Deering there. We'll come back. Some news yesterday. A new defensive coordinator at Texas. I'll tell you about it. It's the Halftime Show.
let's go. Everybody eyes up here. Look, they are getting in this set right here, right? And they're running zone G and they're running chop. We call chop. We got to get there. The buck has got to get there and get flat. Corner's got to come through. The safety fits outside. Will's got to be here. Does everybody see that? Gap control. Everybody just do your job. You understand that?
Right now, they got 2 turnovers tonight.
The last part was Mac Brown. That was the voice of Will Muschamp, who yesterday rode back into college football, not just in an analyst role, but in a role that will be the defensive coordinator for the Texas Longhorns. He goes back to a place where he was once head coach in waiting. He once left to take the head coaching job at Florida, and he is the guy there. 803-404-6100. How do you feel? I put this on Twitter last night. How does this make you feel? Because on Twitter last night, there was, when people kind of responded, there was a lot more of like, oh, okay, well, the time has passed. We don't care. Good luck. Good luck, Texas. Good luck, Muschamp. Good luck, whomever. We're finally past him. We don't care. There was also people who basically were like, bleep that guy. And I can't wait to see Texas in 2027. Remember, South Carolina will take on Texas in 2027. And I expect Will Muschamp to still be there. How do you feel about Muschamp taking the Texas defensive coordinator job? Like, do you not care at all? This is interesting because South Carolina fans, like Muschamp, I'll give him a lot of credit. I didn't dislike Muschamp. And I got to know, because David Waters, that we've had on here from Gator, whatever his podcast is now, but the guy we've had multiple times when we talk Florida, David Waters, Gator Breakdown, I think. He gave me a lot of interesting background on Muschamp and his time from Florida, and how Muschamp evolved down there, and some of the feelings that Muschamp had as things wrapped up, and his distrust of media and his distrust of people. And I saw that. I was able to see that when he was here at South Carolina. And somebody, I think it was Gamecock Bourbon Society on Twitter last night, sent me the video, and it was funny. It's funny. And it's the outtake of him telling Gamecock fans to get out of their seats. If most of y'all would remember it, if not, on Twitter/X, go check out Gamecock Bourbon Society's Twitter handle, and he's got the video of it. It is. It's. I mean, like, it's not. There was nothing wrong with Will Muschamp's emotions. He was emotional. He lived by that, but that actually showed some personality in him, and that was the one thing at South Carolina I think he fought so hard to not show, was personality, who he truly was. I'll be honest. Having covered football teams and basketball teams, it's really hard not to get close, not to be friends with coaches on some kind of level that you feel bad criticizing. I think y'all know that. There are times that, you feel like criticizing a coach and maybe you hold back. I'll be honest, Frank Martin is one of those guys with me. Frank was there for me in a lot of situations. Frank was there for me when I went through my divorce. Took me to play golf. It had nothing to do. He was also angry at me multiple times, by the way. And he let some people know it and informed them that needed to get back to me. So I enjoyed my relationship with Frank Martin, but yeah, he was angry at times and with me, and at times he wasn't a basketball coach. He was a friend. And so, yeah, there were times late in his tenure that I tried to be very careful in being honest on air, and also drawing a line in the sand of not going overboard and criticizing Frank. I'll openly admit that. And I think that's hard for a lot of people. And what I think is with Will Muschamp, he never allowed us to even try and get close to that. Like, I don't think he had buddies that he reached out to. We did one interview with him here very early in his tenure, and I was trying to cut up with him because I don't like having coaches on to talk X's and O's. You get press conferences from that. I like having coaches on to cut up and learn their personality. That's why I love having Lamont Paris on. That's why I love having Tony Annan on. So with that being said, Will never allowed, I think, he never opened up just enough to show us a personal side. But he's a good dude, and he came here with his goal to win. And it will go down to me as one of the greatest mysteries in college football, how a guy that smart, and he is brilliant, how a guy that smart, that good of a coach, that good of a recruiter, simply couldn't win football games. 2-10, 2-8, 4-8 year prior. I'd never understand it. All right, hour 3 on the way. We'll talk more about that, college football playoff and more. It's the Halftime Show. Now, this is it. Final hour of the year for me. I believe it's the final hour of the year for producer Ed Bird. And one more day. You get women's game. That's right. That's right. We got to remind you tomorrow right here on 107.5 The Game. We will have the women against Florida Gulf Coast as they get set to take on, they'll blow somebody else out. I said it to open the show, and obviously last night, 103-44, Joyce Edwards, career high, 34 points. It's a product of Dawn's doing. This is Dawn's fault because she's made them so good. Like, they're such, I will say for the women's team, I don't think they are elite anymore. I think they are now in a pod of 10 to 12 teams that are really good and can win the national championship. And part of that, again, Dawn, is your fault. You promoted, not that there's anything wrong with this, but it is your fault. You promoted women's basketball. You've built the sport. You've done more for it than probably any other coach, Gino Auriemma, maybe Pat Summitt, than anybody's done. And because of your hard work and because of you uplifting the sport, there's a lot of other good teams now. It's not South Carolina, Connecticut, and then maybe a third team that rotates through Iowa, Southern Cal, somebody else. So that's Dawn's fault. And another part of Dawn's fault is she's made this team so good, they constantly beat teams by 40 and 50. And it makes it boring to watch. It's not a lot of fun. If you don't tune in for the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, maybe the first quarter, yeah, by then you're watching a game that's over. And that's a great problem to have. I'd rather have that problem than going the other way. But anyway, that's we will have that for you. 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip. It'll be right here on 107.5 The Game. That'll be Saturday against Florida Gulf Coast. For those of you wanting to check that out. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. We've covered a bunch of topics today. The college football playoff. We have covered Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, and MajorWager.com. We've covered his picks. Chris Deering with a lot of great information. Good to give a shout-out to the local high schools, the players, the coaches, everybody involved here as we wrap up the fall semester. I think today is the last day for the majority of kids out there. I think my kids were off the last 2 days and are definitely off today. So, anyway, congratulations to all the state champions that have played, all the individual accomplishments. And I say all that because we covered a lot of stuff, both the now high school basketball season that's taking place and a lot of great tournaments coming up over Christmas break. And we covered the high school football season and now the most recent North-South game and the Shrine Bowl as well. So, a lot accomplished there, and then also talked Shane Beamer and a little bit about what is going on with Shane Beamer. I'll get to a few more clips of him just to kind of wrap up some final thoughts on the hiring of Kendall Browse. We'll officially put that to bed today because by the time we come back on January the 6th when we're all back together, that will kind of be old news, and we'll be talking about the transfer portal obviously at that point. So we'll get into that a little bit this hour as well, and also talk a little bit about the college football playoff. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. The other thing from the week that's been tough on all of us has been the news of Steve Taneyhill. And I tell you what, Ed, if you don't mind, we're going to play number 5 from Tuesday. This will be clip number 5. This is Dabo Swinney. We're going to play this in just a minute. But, you know, South Carolina, there's so many things about the passing of Steve Taneyhill. Age 52, passes away of a disease. I'll leave it at that. His family can speak to what that was. But the passing of Steve Taneyhill. And I think it goes to tell you winning isn't everything. Winning isn't everything. Giving back to your community, being a personality, but being accessible, being a genuinely good guy, you know, that's what's important. That's what endears you to people. And I say all that because, honestly, if you go back, Steve's record at South Carolina stinks. I mean, 4 seasons, 3 of which they didn't have a winning record. But he's got that bowl victory over West Virginia. He's got the victory over Clemson as a freshman. He's got the victories over Mississippi State and Tennessee as a freshman. He's got the victory over Georgia, Bennett over the top. in '93. I mean, there's so much there with Steve Taneyhill, and then what he did for the community, the restaurants, bars, especially the ones in 5 Points with Taneyhill's group therapy, CB18 down there where the old Dr. Rocco's is. And there will be more coming out on what they're going to do for him to honor him, especially down in 5 Points for fans and people. And we'll have more information on that, so continue to check social media. But so much to kind of take away from the life and times of Steve Taneyhill and what he did for this community, what he did for this football program, and how he was remembered. And let's play that clip. This is really good. You can say what you want about Dabo. I think somebody yesterday said they'd have him on the naughty list. But here's Dabo Swinney sharing a tale about Steve Taneyhill. And this is Steve Taneyhill coming to an Alabama football practice when Dabo was a walk-on, and then looking at Steve Taneyhill. And Gene Stallings is the coach, as you'll hear. Here's Dabo's story on Steve Taneyhill going for a visit to Tuscaloosa.
And we're all out there practicing in the indoor there in Tuscaloosa, and it was like December, kind of this time. You could take visits in December. And here comes this guy, walks in, and we're playing for Gene Stallings. And, we all know Gene Stallings as players. And he shows up, we got the recruiting guy with him, and he had that long hair. He had that long hair and all that swag, and we all were in there going, oh, yeah, we ain't getting him. We knew right there, yeah, we ain't getting him. And and sure enough, we didn't. And he goes to South Carolina.
Steve obviously ended up at South Carolina the 4 years. I said this, too. I think people don't realize how good of a recruit, because recruiting was still kind of on the back burner. Phil Kornblut was the only one really doing something around here. And it wasn't an internet thing where you really went on Gamecock Central, the Big Spur, or whatever, and checked it out. And so I think we didn't realize, maybe we did, you listen to Kornblut, but just how big of a recruit Taneyhill was. In another interview, Steve said he didn't go play for Florida State because they would not guarantee him a chance to start his freshman year. And if you remember, that was when Florida State was really in its prime of making top tens, and they were rolling through quarterbacks, and they had the system of you came in and you sat basically 3 years and you took over as a junior. And Steve said, "Nah, I ain't doing that. I'm too good. I can win now. I can play now." And Sparky Woods gave him that chance. And, and South Carolina was able to take advantage of it, and it led to, again, it's an odd situation where you don't see huge victories. You don't see, huge victories, but what you do see is a legacy left behind that everybody remembers positively. It's positive. It's scary to think that we've almost lost 3 of our greatest quarterbacks ever. Phil Petty, we've lost Phil Petty, we've lost Steve Taneyhill, and we almost lost Connor Shaw. And I think it is another sign that we need to go and appreciate, as things are happening, guys for who they are and what they bring to the program. Because, Phil Petty was in my college years, Steve Taneyhill was in my formative, this is what sports is all about years, and then Connor Shaw was in my adult life when I had not seen success from South Carolina, be like, this is what success is like. This is what winning is like on a daily basis. This is great. I like more of that. We need more of this. But thoughts and prayers with the Taneyhill family, thoughts and prayers with his former teammates, everything involved in it. Steve Taneyhill was a special, special, special guy. Jamie Bradford and I did a special you can check out as well if you go to Jamie Bradford's Twitter, Sports Media JB. We did a special for him this week because for both of us and for a lot of us, again, I say it referring to me, but quite frankly, there's a lot of you listening right now who are probably somewhere between the ages of 38 and a little over 50, and you have great memories of Steve Taneyhill. You don't remember the seasons. You don't remember the losses. You don't remember not making the bowls, but what you do remember is who that guy was and the fun that he brought to South Carolina football and how he changed the perception of South Carolina football during those years. And then we know that it would absolutely bottom out in 98 and 99 with Brad Scott going 1-10 and Lou Holtz being 0-11. But thoughts and prayers, that's definitely has been a tough loss for Gamecock Nation coming off of a tough football season. But we'll try not to let that memory die. 803-404-6100 if you're listening this afternoon. I asked, how do you go about honoring him? You don't just do a halftime ceremony. I mentioned maybe highlighting the 18-yard line on both sides for all 7 games. Clemson Sean weighed in. I like this idea. I actually do. And you could do it something separate. Maybe do it for game 1 when it's not a serious game. But instead of towels, you give out mullets. And that's part of Steve Taneyhill Day at Williams-Brice Stadium. That's a big way to honor somebody. That'd be really cool. I like that idea. But more needs to be done than just some kind of video clip, if you will. More needs to be done. You need to honor this guy because, he also really, really fought for players coming back and being around the program. He wanted, and was told to me by somebody else, he wanted this program to embrace former athletes and to allow former athletes to come back and really be a part of it, and that's not always been something that South Carolina's been good at. And he, frankly, was upset with the university. He's got a tweet out either during or after the Clemson game where he questions why former players aren't back on the sideline. And there's a story that's told that he was on the sideline for a particular game, and one of the field officers or somebody came up to him and said, you don't have a field pass, you don't have a sideline pass, where's your credential? And Steve turned and pointed his number, pointed at his statistic in the stadium, pointed at his name, and said, that's my field credential. I'm that guy. And they said that the person that was there checking to see why he was on the field said, I understand. And he walked away. And Steve wanted to be a part of the program. He wanted to help the program in any way. So it's been a rough week in that manner of the standpoint of losing a Gamecock great who not only did great things as a player but came back and helped the community. Didn't go back home to Pennsylvania. Didn't go back home to Altoona. He made this his home. He made the upstate his home and did a lot for people. 803-404-6100. Mark weighs in and says, we will always have a special place in our hearts for Tiger Killers. Jacob weighs in and says, make it an honor to wear the number 18 on offense. Only leaders get to wear it. That's also a good one as well. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, get back into the college football playoff. You're listening to Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It is the Halftime Show. About what is it? About 42 minutes left before it is officially Christmas break here around the office for me. And then we'll all be back January 6th. And a lot to get to over Christmas break, including tonight we get into the college football playoff. And year 2 of this thing. Year 2. How do you feel about it? Because South Carolina's not or Clemson's not in it? Or are you like, I don't care? Who cares? I'm done with college football. I'm done for the year. Wake me again next mid-August. Or it's good games. Oklahoma and Alabama is going to be a lot of fun. I think that Miami, Texas A&M is going to be a lot of fun. I have not so much confidence in Texas, in Oregon, James Madison, or Mississippi and Tulane. But how do you feel about it? 803-404-6100. Again, Alabama tonight, they appear to be a split group. They appear to be not sure what they want. Some of them are ready for Kalen DeBoer to go. He's not Nick Saban. Nobody's ever going to be Nick Saban. And that's why I say, is Kalen DeBoer coaching for his job tonight? And if they lose, how much of a factor is Michigan in trying to get him? Do they really want him? Is that who Michigan wants? That's question 1. 2 is, does Kalen DeBoer want the job? Is he genuinely interested in getting out of right now the fishbowl that is Alabama? Because while Michigan is not much easier, you have the kind of season. I mean, remember, John Harbaugh wasn't lighting it on fire his first few years. Now, he cranked things up there at the very end and obviously won a national championship. But it's not like John Harbaugh was like just rolling over everybody right away. It took a few minutes. And yet, I know he was a Michigan man, if you will. But you're a little bit safer with 2 years of 9 wins, 2 years of just 10 wins at Michigan than you are at Alabama. Their expectation now is absolutely through the roof. We talk about, all right, what's the realistic expectation for South Carolina next year? And maybe I'm over here setting the bar low at 6-6 because of the fact that they play 4 playoff teams, Florida and Tennessee, and Florida is still a good football team, and it's down there. If John Summerall can turn things around, like 6-6, I'm like, well, okay, I can kind of see that. You know, at Michigan, you're like, all right, 9 wins, 10 wins, all right, as long as we're doing that, we're happy. At Alabama, it's like, no. We don't win 9 or 10 around here. We win 12 or 11 in the regular season. We win the next one in Atlanta for the SEC playoff, and then we go to the championship game. That's how it works around here. And if you can't adhere to these rules, you are no longer asked to be around here. We'll find another coach that can. The one thing I would say for Alabama is if you get rid of Kalen DeBoer, who are you going to get? Who is that? I genuinely, do you go get Lane Kiffin? Is that because we all feel like Lane would sneak out of Baton Rouge under the cover of darkness and would go to Alabama? But if you go to who is the other coach out there that you're like, yeah, that's a home run. Now we're upgrading from Kalen DeBoer. So is his job on the line tonight? Because you got to think there's somebody rational down there that's like, yeah, I don't know who we go to. I don't know who we hire that is an upgrade from Kalen DeBoer. Now, again, he hasn't lived up to expectations tonight. I got Alabama winning. I'm going tied on this tonight. They go into Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma can force 3 turnovers and get a pick 6 again. I very well may end up being wrong about that, but I think the Tide go in and win. If you didn't hear earlier, Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider and Major Wager, he took Oklahoma minus the 1 tonight. So he's taking Oklahoma, but I side with Alabama in tonight's game. Tomorrow at noon, that should be a blast. Non-conference game, Miami and Texas A&M, college football playoff, games played in College Station. These two have been playing each other the last few years. Here is Texas A&M coach Mike Elko on Miami's talent. This is him earlier this week talking about the talent of Miami.
Yeah, talent, extremely talented, very athletic. Defensively, they're very long. They've got a lot of players that can run and hit. They're very good on the front. And then offensively, just a very explosive group of skilled athletes that can make a lot of plays in space.
So I think yesterday in our segment there, I took A&M, but I think I'm going to switch to Miami. I do have still roughly 8 hours plus another 12 I do have roughly 20 hours to finalize my decision. Know that it's a game time decision. I'll try and put something out on Twitter if it's going to affect your life and help you make a decision as well, whether you want to go with me or fade me. Either one, it's fine. But I think Miami goes in there. You got a quarterback who's a little bit more experienced in situations like this than Marcel Reed. I'll take Carson Beck to not throw it to anybody and everybody not wearing a Miami jersey, and I'll take the Canes tomorrow over Texas A&M. I think that was going to be good. And then, honestly, the other part about that is it sets up, really, truthfully, a fun second-round matchup, if you will. And I like that because right now, if I got my way, Tyler and I did this yesterday. If I got my way, we would have, if Alabama wins, and that would be awesome, we'd have Alabama, Indiana, right? That's who we would have. We would have Alabama, Indiana coming up in round 2. We would have Miami and Oregon State in round 2. That would be a blast. I'd be all for that. Then we would have Oregon, Texas Tech in round 2 if it goes the way I want it to go. Sign me up for that. That sounds great. I'm happy with all 3 of those. And then you get and then if it goes the way I expect it to, you get the rematch of Ole Miss and Georgia, which I don't like the fact that it's a rematch. But that's what I'm all in for. Oregon winning tomorrow night, and I think they will. They play Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. That would be a lot of fun. That game would be on January 1st at noon. You would also have Alabama playing Indiana at 4 o'clock. Great place, Rose Bowl. That's actually a fun setting. Put the Tide in against the Hoosiers, 4 o'clock on January 1st. You'd also have, again, Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. That'd be 8 o'clock on January 1st. And on New Year's Eve, we would have Miami against Ohio State. Listen, Texas A&M, Ohio State, it's not a bad option either for the Cotton Bowl. I'd be happy with all of that. I'd also be happy because if it's Texas A&M and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, y'all know just as well as I do, Ohio State's going to whine and complain about it being a home game for Texas A&M. So we can't lose either way on that one. The other ones we can, but hopefully we get that. And I just mentioned Memphis. I said that yesterday. Ole Miss and Tulane. Ole Miss is favored by 17.5. If he had to choose a side, Brian Edwards said he would take Tulane minus 17.5. I think Ole Miss covers it. Brian Edwards mentioned he does like the over of 36.5 for the total team score of Mississippi, but he also likes it all the way up to 38.5. So he believes they're going to put points on the board, and because they're going to put points on the board, I'll side with Mississippi to cover the 17.5 because I think having your defense coordinator back is now your head coach. There's actual continuity there. There's actually something there that can keep that group together. So we'll see what exactly happens. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on any of that. And I got Oregon blowing out James Madison tomorrow night. James Madison's a cute story, but Oregon can win this national championship, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. So if you want to weigh in on any of that, 803-404-6100. Texter weighs in. Beamer said playoffs next year. What the heck is this 6-6 jazz? That was a bold move. That was a bold move by him. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see if it kind of plays out in that manner. I certainly hope it does. It'd be a lot of fun. But 4 games against college football playoff teams this year. 3 of them that I'm pretty confident. 2 of them that I'm confident. 2 of them that I'm confident they're not losing their quarterbacks. Gunnar Stockton for Georgia and Marcel Reed for Texas A&M. Tennessee and Florida. Florida definitely trying to figure out the quarterback situation, although a lot of rumors that a backup from Georgia Tech will follow Buster Faulkner there. And then Tennessee, they've got to find a new quarterback, but they got a bevy of recruits that they can choose from there that were big-time recruits as well to lead Josh Heupel's offense. So you got those 4. And then those are the playoff teams. Those are the Oklahoma. So it's actually 3. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Florida. Oklahoma's going to get John Mateer back. So you're going to face Mateer in Norman. You're going to face Marcel Reed, and you're going to face Gunnar Stockton. 2 of those are at home. And then you also get Bama, who actually will have Ty Simpson back. So you get all 4 playoff teams back with their quarterbacks. And then the 2 games that I think are toss-ups, but that I don't think South Carolina will be favored in, is Florida and Tennessee. Now, maybe that all changes. I don't know. But think about that for a second when we talk about records for next year. 4 games against playoff teams who should likely have their quarterbacks back. 2 against Tennessee and Florida who are searching for a quarterback. Games at Florida. Florida's not bad. We'll see how John Summerall turns that program around. And Tennessee's got a good roster. It's not bad. It's not great. They're better, in my opinion, than South Carolina. So there's your 6 for next year if you're talking 6-6. And why? That's why I could see Jeremiah Donati looking at 6-6 and be like, all right, did we take a step in the direction? How close were the games? What were the results? How did you handle the other 6? Mind you, as I just mentioned, that's 6 losses. I didn't mention the Clemson game. And so all of a sudden you're going, all right, you got to win the Clemson game to save your job. I think that's a fair avenue for next year for one more year in year 7. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. South Carolina basketball was in action this week. And also I want to go back to, I tell you what, we'll go back to next year. And we'll start with Friday's press conference from Shane Beamer talking about Kendall Briles. And we'll look ahead to 2026 for the Gamecocks. You're listening to Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird behind the glass. It is the halftime show. 2:35 on your Friday afternoon. Memphis and North Carolina State have kicked off. They are good to go. Western Michigan pummeled Kennesaw State. Absolutely ugly up there, but there goes down the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and now we can move on from that. But yes, a pummeling that took place 41-6, Western Michigan and Kennesaw State. If you had any kind of soda, dime, or financial stake in that game, please seek help as soon as possible. Just wherever you got to go. Make a phone call. Speak with someone. Speak with us. We'll help you here at 107.5 The Game. 803-404-6100. Kind of a recap of the week kind of deal here. And Monday, we didn't get as much into it maybe as we should have. We talked about Art Briles, but we didn't listen to a lot of the press conference from last Friday. And here is, I'll tell you what, we're going to start with number one. This is last Friday. This is Kendall Briles being introduced at Shane Beamer's press conference, and here is what Shane Beamer had to say regarding Kendall Briles.
I called a lot of people, called Rocket Sanders about him. Had him on speakerphone in my house last week. Emily was sitting there with me. I think she had a Hallmark Christmas movie on or something, but she heard the conversation that was going on, and I said to Rocket, hey, I didn't tell him why I was calling. I just, good to talk to you, all that stuff. How's the NFL going? And I said, if I said the name Kendall Briles to you, what would you say? And he didn't hesitate, and he said, get it done, is what Rocket said. And I said, hold up now, like get it done, like hire him, or get it done like he can get it done? And he goes, both. So knowing how I feel about Rocket and the kind of player he is and the person he is, that said a lot. Talked to a lot of coaches about him for sure, but couldn't be more excited about him.
So, the first part of that, Shane turned to a former player of South Carolina, but a guy who had worked or played for Kendall Briles, obviously, at Arkansas, and had one of his better career years. And so, get it done. I feel like that should be a kind of a slogan that we'll have going. And you know what? Do we make that the slogan for Kendall Briles in South Carolina? I think we should. I think we should. We'll have to remember that when we come back in 2 weeks. The slogan for 2026 is very simple for South Carolina. Get it done. Because that's all we really want. I don't care how you get there. I don't care who you got to have get there. Get it done. We have to start using that more often when it pertains to 2026. And both the job that Kendall Briles has got to do and the job that Shane Beamer has got to do. Let's go on with a little bit more here on this. And this is Kendall Briles' opening statement. This is the first we heard of Kendall Briles, or the first time we heard from Kendall Briles. Here is his opening statement last Friday. This is clip number 2, Producer Ed. Here is Kendall Briles.
Appreciate it, Coach. First of all, I want to thank Rocket Sanders for that comment. But no, it's been an unbelievable 24 hours just being here. For my family, just incredibly blessed and grateful to be here for the opportunity Coach Beamer has given us to join and be just a small part of the incredible staff that he already has with his defensive staff and Clayton White and Joe D with special teams and to join the other guys offensively. So very grateful to be back in the SEC. I know how big of a deal that is, and we're incredibly excited. So thank you to Jeremiah and President and Jeff and everybody who was involved with the situation. And we're excited to get to work. Columbia looks like a beautiful place. We've seen it kind of only in the dark, but get to go out there and look around a little bit today. But we're incredibly blessed to be here and get ready to get to work. Thank you.
So, again, not saying much, but let's dig a little bit deeper here, and let's go to let's start with clip number 10, Producer Ed, because it's always fun. How politically correct is the coach going to be in referencing the 2025 offense? When he's got to talk to the media, when he's got to say things publicly, how politically correct is Kendall Briles going to be? Because we asked him, or he was asked, hey, Kendall, what were your thoughts on South Carolina's 2025 offense?
I believe it was, I don't even know what is today, Friday? Might have been about 9 days ago. when we finished playing Cincinnati. I was able to peek at it, and I don't want to say too much, just like Clem said, because I want these guys to have a clean slate moving forward, so we can judge them for what they are whenever we see them practice and get on the football field instead of what they were. But I saw some guys that are really talented, and we just got to fine tune it a little bit, and so that's our job, and that's why they call us coach. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to do that, but definitely got some players on the field.
That, folks, is how you play the game. Politically correct. Well, don't want to say too much. Give these guys a clean slate. There's also some humming and hawing and some to start that. It's like, you're reading between the lines. What did Kendall Browse think of it? You got that, and then you get to the part where, all right, how do I address the players? We're not going to say too much. We're going to give all these guys a clean slate. Let them discuss it. Well, one of those guys is indeed Lenore Sellers. He needs a clean slate. This year, I don't know. I blame someone on Lenoris. I blame a lot on Mike Shula. But here is the new offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles, talking about Sellers and building the offense around him.
No, not within the last couple of weeks. Once it got where we knew this thing was pretty much done, then had an opportunity to speak with him on the phone. But what was the second part of your question? How would he fit in this offense? It's really more the offense fitting around him. I mean, he's a quarterback. He's touching the ball every single snap. I'm not going to go out there and ask him to do something he's not great at. So we're going to build the offense around him and the rest of the personnel and do the things that he's really good at. And so we want him to be comfortable. Like I said, he's out there with people, running full speed at him, probably in a bad attitude and trying to get after him. So we're going to do the things that he feels really comfortable with, and I'm excited to work with him. Seems like a great kid.
So a lot of Kendall Briles, a lot of Shane Beamer there, and the bottom line is all eyes, as much as we possibly can, will be on Kendall Briles here in the offseason. Now, if Shane Beamer were to shut things down, keep it even more quiet than usual, that's perfectly fine. And I've said it, and I'll say it again until we get the announcement. And hopefully when we come back on January 6th, we'll have the announcement. But once Lenore Sellers makes his decision, I think you hype that up. I think you try and build a little more goodwill. And then you know what you do? We look at him and say, get it done. Gene says that's the slogan. I just put it on Twitter as well. Get it done. And you know what? Stan Drayton, he's got to go find him a running back. I like what they got, but they got to build more depth. And if you can get an elite guy, get it done. Here's Stan Drayton saying, if you can play, I'm coming to get you.
Not necessarily. They're still football players. You're still evaluating their talent. You're still evaluating their fit for South Carolina. It's more of an adjustment for me to learn this place and make sure I understand and stay aligned for what Coach Beamer is trying to build his team around from a personality standpoint and a talent standpoint. But no, I'm going to dive in. And if you can play football, then I'm coming to get you. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And we'll learn more about that in January with the transfer portal. And then we get to watch Stan Drayton do high school recruiting, in which South Carolina has stunk at for the past 2 years when you're not able to land a high school running back. And Shane Beamer addressed it and has made no excuses about it. He said it's bad. It should never happen. It's embarrassing. And Stan Drayton, the ball is now in your court to go out and land South Carolina, a top-tier high school running back that can carry the load. Look forward to seeing how you do, buddy. As the new slogan says, get it done. That'll be the new slogan per the halftime show for 2026. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. We'll come back and we'll wrap this whole thing up. Put an end to 2025 for the halftime show. You're listening to Bill Gunner and producer Ed Bird. Well, this is it. About 5 minutes left of for me, 2025 here at the station. I will be back. I assume I'll be back. I'll be back on January 6th, January 5th. That Monday, Tyler will be back, and we'll get 2026 going. And I can tell you, the conversation around here has been, oh boy, where are we going with this basketball team? And oh boy, what is Paul Maneri going to bring to us in 2026? I think I told Terry Ford multiple times, more towards May and in June, because I didn't really realize that it was going on. I was like, man, I didn't realize, from a content standpoint and a radio standpoint, what we had to do last winter and spring with, without women's softball and without women's basketball, what in the heck were we talking about? Baseball went downhill quickly, really right there around March. Basketball bottomed out. Basketball had bottomed out when we got to conference play, and unfortunately, we may be heading for that again. We'll see. Men play on Monday. They play South Carolina State. Women, again, I mentioned this earlier, women, again, are back in action tomorrow. We'll have the coverage for you right here on 107.5. The game, 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip-off there against Florida Gulf Coast. But I can tell you the conversation right here is like, oh, boy, we would love for the spring sports to be more competitive and to keep y'all engaged, keep us engaged. But we're thankful for you tuning in each and every day and being part of the programs and weighing in good or bad with your commentary. I've gotten to the point now where I'll respond via our text machine occasionally and offer input back to you if I don't agree with you. I think that's the way it should be. So I like to engage in my Twitter followers now. I like to engage on our text machine as well. So I'm looking forward to 2026. I do want to say from a personal standpoint, for those of you that mostly know, obviously 2025 has been a wild, wild ride for me, and I am so blessed and thankful for those of you out there that have asked about my health and been concerned for me and prayed for me. If you don't know, back in August on a Monday, I didn't feel great. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't feel great, and I was tired a lot, and I went to urgent care in Lexington thinking I had COVID. I'd actually called Terry Ford that morning and said, hey, I think I got COVID. What's our COVID policy? And we both chuckled and said, I don't even know if we got a COVID policy anymore. And I went to the hospital, or went to urgent care, and discovered that I had failing kidneys, that my kidneys were failing, and got not a free ride to the hospital in an ambulance, and spent 3 weeks at Lexington Medical Center. Thank you to all the doctors and nurses and all the people, the dialysis people, everybody that took care of me. And so really, honestly, from August 4th on, life has changed quite dramatically for me. I had agreed already to do the halftime show. It was a move I was very excited about. I still, whenever I get healthy, am very excited about. Terry Ford and I sat down together, and we both agreed this was a phenomenal move for me, for my life and as a whole, for my career, to get to do this. And I've enjoyed working with Tyler, who I think the world of. I love his opinion each and every afternoon. The work he does for me to take some of the weight off of me is absolutely incredible. Producer Ed and Captain Dave have been more than phenomenal. I did work with them occasionally in the morning, but it's been a year. It's been a year, to say the least. Terry will be the first to tell you if he wants to. I do not handle change well. I probably thought I was going to handle the change in shows from 6 to noon better than this, and then you come down with this kidney disease, and it's thrown me off my game. And Terry will be the first to tell you I'm still struggling to adapt. Most days I'm still trying to figure out how to get here on time, but everybody has been incredible, and I'm so thankful for Terry. I'm so thankful for Tyler, for Ed, for Captain Dave. They're incredible people to work with on a day-in, day-out basis. They got to deal with my shenanigans, not just my health issues right now, but my simple shenanigans of coming here. And I think now being a little bit more opinionated in the afternoon because I'm more awake. But I also want to thank so many of you out there who, again, have checked on me, have asked about me, who have been concerned about me. I love doing this because of the people I get to meet and talk to. I'm so thankful for the people I get to meet and talk with, and I'm 803 till I die, baby. I was just telling somebody I never left Columbia. I stayed here, went to Lexington, went to South Carolina. It's my town, baby. Y'all are my people, and I'm thankful to have you in my life. Y'all have a great rest of the year, an incredible rest of the year. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year's to you and your family. We'll catch you in January.